We have the pleasure of welcoming Debra today to our interview series. I'm Aishwarya Jain from the peopleHum team. Before we begin, just a quick introduction of peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel, which receives upwards of 15,000 visitors a month and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. And now for our guest. Debra is a global leader and has worked with countries, UN agencies, national and multinational firms all over the world, helping them create programs, strategies, and processes that fully include persons with disabilities. Welcome, Debra. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very honored to be part of the program today.
Thank you so much. So I want to begin with the first question that we had for you, Debra, which is, what do you believe are still the gaps that organizations have to, think about to make disability inclusion real and work for everyone?
Well, I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done all over the world. And here in the United States, even though my work is global, I do live in the United States, as I've said. And so we sue each other in the United States. We create laws and then we sue each other, and we sue each other for a lot of money. And so we're seeing a lot of litigation, a lot of lawsuits in the United States because websites aren't accessible and apps aren't accessible and things like that. And now that more people have been sent home to work so that we all can stay safe, we're seeing a lot of accessibility issues that we've been talking about for years and years. And accessibility, when done right, it improves access for all people. So it's really good. And there were a lot of people that are having access issues. So we actually expect during this, the coronavirus, that we're going to see lawsuits pick up after a while because people are realizing they don't truly have access like they need. And our rural areas still don't have good access to even the internet. And I've written about that before. And these are problems that we, of course, are seeing in developing countries, but it's happening in developed countries too. And so I think a mistake sometimes we make as a people is that we assume developed countries have more knowledge than the developing countries. And I think that's absolutely not true. I see the developing countries often are more innovative and they're more creative, and there's more diversity in the discussions when developing countries get involved. So I think at a time of great stress and fear and everything, this is an opportunity for us to really look at how are we including people? What is the diversity? How do we make sure things are accessible to people with disabilities, but to all people? And so you use the term future of work. Well, it is certainly the future of work. It's the now of work, right? Is that if you don't have a diverse workforce, if you're not including women, if you're not including women with different backgrounds, the intersectionality, women with disabilities, women from India, women from Central America, women from Africa, women, in all those places, if you're not including women that, are part of the LGBT community, women that have different religious experiences, men. So it's truly about what does it mean to be truly human? What does it, and how do the employers protect us and encourage us to be our best selves, because we know that diversity really, really plays well into innovation and creativity, which equals productivity. I think we still have a lot of work to do, but that's why the work you're doing is so important, because it's going to take all of us doing this.
Yes, that's correct. And again, it's all about inclusivity, global inclusivity, and just not talk about what color you are, but actually look at the value of work that you're doing, right? That's what's more important.
And also age. I'm joining you today at 61 years old, and I celebrated turning 60 by coloring my hair purple. It's gray because I'm 60. It should, and it really, a woman can have whatever color hair they want, but why not celebrate where we each are and honor, the beauty of the human experience?
Absolutely. If everyone has the freedom, then why not women? Right?
Yes.
Why is there Why is there bias? Absolutely.
I agree.
Well, with that, I'll go to the next question. So how important of a role will technology and digital make in the inclusive workplace of the future?
It's not the future anymore. Technology is critical. The digital inclusion. I talk about digital inclusion. I work with Huawei, and Huawei's got an interesting reputation in the United States right now, but I believe to decide that 1,400,000,000 people are all wrong is ridiculous, because we're in this together. And so technology, access to affordable, reliable internet for everybody, technology that works. If you are a big corporation, you need to be focused on tech for all, tech for good. You need to be helping with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. You need to be telling us your stories, because I wrote a book called Inclusion Branding, and I said in the book, if you're a corporation, you're doing these great things, but we don't know about it, you may as well not be doing them, because if you're not telling your story in an accessible way that includes all of us, do understand that the younger generations, they're not going to work with you. And if they hear you're doing something really bad, like ignoring women being sexually abused or things like that, your employees are going to walk out on you and they're going to leave you in a second. So the fight for talent is here now. And I think we have to continue to speak up. And I try to always, and I've actually been criticized online, I don't care, saying that I shouldn't support big corporations. Well, the reality is big corporations employ a lot of people. And so we need corporations of all sizes, but we need you to be good. We need you to be good. And I understand in all companies there are probably some bad players, but deciding that I'm not going to work with you because you're from a different country or something else ridiculous, I think is bad for society. And so technology that's good, and sharing the technology and supporting each other. I mean, look what's happening in the world. The world is shutting down. I mean, the stock markets in my country are flipping out, as around the world, but technology is more critical than ever before. But it still has to be smart technology, and it has to be inclusive and accessible technology. And you better be telling us the stories. Something else I'm noticing during these really scary times is what corporations are stepping up and helping. And so I'm going to give another shout out to Amazon. The other day I tweeted about Amazon bringing on another 100,000 workers in the United States. And Uber is hiring 60,000 for Uber Eats, because people aren't supposed to be going out. And so I said that, and somebody came back and said, oh yeah, more slaves for the galley floor. And it was a friend of mine. And I said, really? So Amazon, no matter what they do, it's just not good enough. We're just going to be so mad at them, even though, thank God we have Amazon right now when my country's being shut down. How are we going to get food to people? How are we going to get medical supplies? How are we going to get help? But I think we got to stop that garbage. We got to stop being so mean to each other. And I know people that are like, especially millennials and stuff, they're like, I'm not on social media anymore. I can't stand the nastiness of it. But I think technology is critical, and it's here, and it's not going away, and it's just going to continue to be more and more important, but it's got to be accessible to everybody, or the digital divide will continue to widen, which we've already seen start to happen. It's very frightening to see what's happening.
And yeah, a lot of people should be more aware of this. I think that's really important going forward. All right, moving on to the next one. How do you believe the gig economy is going to evolve, especially when you consider the growing ranks of millennials in our workforce?
Well, I think what's so interesting to me, once again, about the millennials, and I have 2 children that are millennials, and I know that my age group, the baby boomers, like to trash the millennials, but I think that we actually can learn quite a bit from the millennials. So I once again believe that we're stronger together. But I think that more and more the generations need to learn from each other, and they need to understand. One thing that we need to understand, the baby boomers, is that the millennials, the way they're thinking, it's very different. And sometimes my age group gets offended by that. And so like the gig economy, a lot of people that I know that are millennials, they don't want to work for someone else because they see the way their parents and their grandparents were treated. And so they're very distrustful of big corporations in a lot of ways, working for them, buying from them, things like that. And so the gig economy is going to become more and more and more and more important. I don't think this is going away. I think the millennials are going to cause a sweep of even more gig jobs. And we're seeing it already. And then once again, as our world continues to change with the coronaviruses and things like that, I think the younger generations, they're starting to want to control their destinies a little bit more rather than having other people control their destinies, especially when they've seen what has happened to people that are older than them, giving all their faith to, some of the big corporations.
Right, absolutely. I agree with you. The gig economy is here to stay, and we just have to find a way to include them,
Yeah, because it's us. There are a lot of people in the gig economy. And it's very innovative. And one thing that's good about human beings, I can talk about what isn't good about us, but one thing is we're adaptable. And so right now we're having to adapt because we have emergencies everywhere. So we're having to adapt, but I'm hoping that we'll learn from these adaptations and use this to make the world better for everybody going forward, even after the coronavirus scare has gone away. So
yeah, I really hope so. Fingers crossed.
Yes.
But in your lifetime, have you seen the rate of acceptance of, millennials and all these people with disabilities gone up? Have you seen that improvement over time?
I really have. I've really seen quite a bit happen over the last 10 years. And I know that a few years ago, well, even more than around the time when my first company, Tech Access, was failing in 2009 and 10, I remember looking at the world and trying to think about what was happening and where we were going. And I remember being concerned that the direction that I thought the market was going to go was not where we were prepared to go. My employees and, what they brought to the table and things like that. And I remember thinking, I don't think we're prepared for what's going to come. I could nowhere have, predicted what has happened. Oh my God, thank goodness I couldn't see all this. But I decided to make changes in my company a few years ago, and we actually lost business. We lost money for 2 years in a row as I changed directions. But I just knew in my heart we had to change directions because I saw that the world was going to change. And then in January 2020, we closed more business that month than we had the whole last year. And it's kept going. And it's because I think the world is caught up with the vision that I saw. And I think a lot of us saw it was happening, and the millennials saw it coming. And the millennials are like, yeah, I hear you. Shut up, sit down. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that because we know that the world could work better. And so we see right now, like with our elections in the US, we see the generation beyond the millennials, the Gen Zs and stuff, they're not voting. It doesn't matter. My vote doesn't matter. Hillary won 3 million over Trump. It doesn't matter. It does matter. It does matter. And so I'm actually very excited that the millennials are leading like they are, and that I think the world's going to continue to be a better place. And corporations, they need to lead. They need to let their younger people and all the different generations lead and their voices be heard. If you really want to make a difference, you got to be the path forward.
Oh, thank you for that wonderful message, Debra. I think that's it's amazing that you're so outright and so outspoken about all this. We need so many more people like you.
Yes. We need, right? People need to talk about these things, and we need to not be afraid to talk about them. And some of the things I talk about, I sometimes wonder about that. And I've had some backlash, but don't feed the trolls on social media. If somebody's going to come out and be nasty and negative, don't feed them. Don't encourage them to get in stupid fights with you that you're not going to win because they don't want to hear you. They just, want to be in denial. We've got to show the world the way forward, and it's going to take all of us doing that, all of us.
Yes, I think we need to help such people. We need to be together in it, and we need to encourage, everybody to stay on the same page, because that's how we will move forward, right?
Yeah,
and
I agree.
And
I agree.
That was absolutely wonderful. It was a complete pleasure talking to you, Debra. Thank you so much for taking out the time for us. And I really appreciate you being here on our channel. I think it's been an enriching experience. So thank you so much, Debra.
Thank you so much. And you stay safe too. I will learn from your country.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Bye-bye. Take care.